Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananandanasalakaya Chakshurumilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurave Gurachandaya Radhikaya Gadaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadavakaya Yam Prabhajanta Manupeta Peta Krityam Dvaipayam Vedanta Taruvantuham Usedam Mayatayam Tarabodhidu Tam Sarvabhuta Hridayam Muniyatosmi Bhakya-vinaya aparadashtai Shakta-shakama Taram Ramade Kripa-haritam Saranam Prabhayam Vinde Namaste Sharanam Tavayasi, Tavayasi, Najivani Charavina, Itivirayade, Om Naivam Charanti, Amrashamari Chatadiravitam, Mandi Katandivaram, Jadyam Jagurachisam Tegatam Satam Varasya Shya Vrindaranyavivasinam Vidivasa Tamagiramanam Radhaskanda Peshitam Jalabhujam Jaya Damodaram Jaya Damodaram Hare Vikakubhaka Kariyajavacha Yache Nipatyaburidandavaru Ajati Asya Prashaya Abhudasya Janasya Kripa Gandharike Tavadane Kananam Videhi. First I offer my unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Dikshi Gurudev, Nitya Lila Palishta Om Vishnu Pai, Astovati Visat Shri Shiman, Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev, Nitya Lila Palishta Om Vishnu Pai, Astovati Visat Shri Shiman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. To our grandfather gurus, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. It never ceases to amaze me how that could be, that he could be a Prabhupada, even your Paramesri Gurudev. How we got that fortune. To all of his divine associates, and to all the assembled devotees, and the assembled devotees, Diksha Gurus or my Shiksha Gurus, Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Bhan Maharaj, and Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Siddhanti Maharaj. So I want to kind of make an experiment today. I thought there was going to be a lot of new people, because sometimes on Sundays there's a lot of first-timers or second-timers, and here we see all old senior devotees. So I'm going to talk about what I was going to talk about if they came. And it's a combination or a reconciliation or a explanation of the differences, there's your suspense going on, of quantum science and Krishna consciousness. Does anybody here know about quantum science? Oh, okay. So quantum physics, I'm sorry, quantum physics. So, you know, the topmost scientists, the Nobel Prize winners, they're getting Nobel Prizes for their theories about quantum physics, which originated with Einstein, and which is all matter. It is not really matter. It's not a lump of matter, but it's all energy, and it's all moving, and it's all changing. Like my hand looks like a solid mass, but there's really lots of spaces between the atoms, but we can't see it. So even from their point of view, even the greatest scientists can't understand what is reality and the movement of the atoms and the sizes of the atoms. They admit that they can't understand the sizes, the movements, the meaning, and so no one can really understand what is reality. So what they come up with is, because of the constant change, energy is always changing. That's why people who have discovered the safest place in Florida, in the highlands, to live and they'll never get flooded by the oceans, just got flooded by the hurricanes.
Wow.
So, and they even take, who was that? Chopra, what's his first name? Deepak Chopra into their field of physicists. He's a doctor, but also like a physicist. And he discussed the law of probability rather than certainty, and that the only thing that's certain is uncertainty, because you never know what the changes are going to be. Just like I mentioned this in one class, the founder of holistic health in America in the 1950s or so, she invented or brought out the idea of holistic health, the mind-body relationship in healing and wellness, the importance of having a positive mind along with positive medicine. And they discussed that really it depends on how you look at it, what your reality is. Like, they gave a bunch of people sugar pills. What is that called? Placebo. So they gave a bunch of people who were in the experiment placebos, or you could say sugar pills, and they told them that we're giving this to you as an experiment because it may have very bad side effects. So many people got very bad side effects because they were so worried about it, and they thought it was coming, and it came. But this lady, Ann Whitmore, who brought to light holistic health in America, and when she was 85 and in good health, she was caught in a fire and died of smoke inhalation. So there's no certainty. And even holistic healers are boasting that this person lived to 120, this person lived to 140. It's a rare thing, but it happened because of positive ways of taking care of your health and positive ways of thinking. But then they have to die anyway, and where they have to go, nobody knows. Every second, millions of souls, not the souls, but millions of embodied souls in 8,400,000 species of life are all dying, and every second, innumerable embodied souls are being born. The quantum physicist idea, I guess it's like Americans, everybody has a little bit of a different idea. You know, we're all Americans, we all have little different ideas. So does quantum physicists, but their main thing is how you look at something, what your paradigm is, that's what it is. It is my reality, which is great if I have a good paradigm. If I have a compassionate paradigm, then that's good. But that's still the way I see it. And even atheistic physicists, or just plain atheists, because they believe in the law of manifestation, whatever you really apply your energy to, that thing manifests, if it's good or if it's bad. If you're living in fear, what if this happens, what if that happens? Or you're remembering old ghost stories that you heard when you were a kid, and you're always in fear that maybe a hand is coming at my window. So many all those negative thoughts enter into the body. At the same time, positive, what's called affirmations. I am well. I'm on a journey to wellness. I love everybody. Everybody loves me. I forgive everybody. Even if I don't know how to forgive everybody, the fact that I agree to forgive everybody, the universe will make it happen. So these are present ideas, which is good to a point. In fact, I even think that those people who believe in Krishna, because they're thinking of Krishna, so in their imagination, they think that they're seeing Krishna. So some is completely bogus. You want to say something? And some is on the way to reality. So what is they say that just by observing something, of a phenomenon, that changes it. It's how you see it, which is true for you, but it may not be the reality. That's why in communication skills programs, accepting that, they request their audiences to see if you want to have a good relationship, that is, to see from the other person's point of view, see how they see it, what is their sufferings, what is their happinesses, and then together work something out that pleases both of you. So, in Krishna consciousness, the supreme physicist, the supreme controller of universes, Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, says that material nature, so you can get it from the ascending way, and you can get it from the descending way. Like, man is mortal. That's a statement. You can get it from the ascending way by checking every man or every family, every house, to see if someone died there or if someone is dying. Or you can hear and accept from Vedic authority or even scientific authority that man is mortal. So we can hear from materialists that everything is changing, so you can't control anything. But how you think helps determine what happens to you, because it all enters into the cells. And factually, these affirmations, scientifically, I am well, I am happy, I am sad. They go into the neurons, there are millions of neurons in the brain, and then the brain sends messages to the organs and the cells. So there is a scientific reality to that. But the descending process, Krishna sends in the Bhagavad Gita that the material nature is endlessly mutable. And the universe, here's where we come a little different. The universe is the cosmic form of the Lord. Means like the universal form of the Lord. That you could say corresponds with people who say God is nature. God is everywhere. The universe is the cosmic form of the Lord. But then the next sentence comes, and I am that Lord seated in the heart of all living beings. From me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. We can say to the atheist, that's a very intelligent statement. And who invented your intelligence? Oh, it came out of an egg. What is that, the primordial egg? Or an explosion? So their intelligence always fails into speculation because they are thinking people, right? And they figure things out and they do things. So the person who figured out the whole thing, he must be the source of figuring out the whole thing, must be a very clever person. Our godbrother Rohini Nandan Prabhu in India, he goes from college to college and preaches Bhagavad Gita and the difference between mundane and spiritual science and the cause of all the students, or most of the students, frustration, depression, addictions, suicide, is the fact that they don't believe in a creator and they are not trying to connect with the creator, which so many people call the source of the sun, which brings the day and the heat, the source of the rain, like a majorly intelligent sprinkler system, or the source of what? The source of different planets by which you can get astrological considerations. But who made the planets? You can say something about the planet. Well, this planet is crossing over that planet, so at that time you may get sick or you may lose your wife or whatever. But who made the planets? And where did the intelligence come from to talk about the planets? And where does the sound come from? I am the sound in ether and the ability in man. Where does man get his ability? Where does man get his form? So everything is discussed to the topmost science in the Vedic scriptures. Even the holistic health masters and quantum physicists talk about frequency. Actually, everything is frequency, and everything is frequency. There's low frequencies and there's high frequencies. Like there's sound healing, right, with the bowls and those little triangle things. Sound healing, and it works because everything is frequency, and if you're connecting with a higher frequency, then your body goes to a higher frequency, or your mind. But let's go to frequency. The topmost frequency is the spiritual frequency, which is the Hare Krishna mantra, which brings about the topmost ability in man. For example, there was a great sage named Agastya Muni, and he was meditating by the ocean, and one sparrow laid her eggs in the ocean. And so then she went away, and did I say in? I meant near, on the shore of the ocean. And then the ocean, you know how oceans are, they gobble things up. A big wave comes and gobble things up. At a time of a, what do you call it? It's not a hurricane. It's those things that, and they go about the ocean. Huh? Cyclone. Huh? Yeah, all that. So if you're near the ocean, there have been so many instances where all of a sudden there's a big tide comes in this, what do you call it, tsunami, and then like hundreds of people go into the ocean. Hmm? How did I get that from frequency? I don't remember.
The eggs.
The eggs, thank you. So the ocean ate the eggs. So the sparrow, like if you lose a baby or if you have a miscarriage, that's how she felt. And so she went to this great sage, Augusta Rishi, and she said, please help me get back my eggs. So Augusta Rishi, who we do Watchman, he took one big gulp of the ocean water and all the 7 oceans went into his body. And it's a true story, because that's the power of somebody who's connected with the highest frequency. Lord Shiva, who you all know, he does a dance. And by that dance, at the time of dissolution, there's 36,000 years of fire and then 36,000 years of flood. The power of his dancing, how was he able to do that? By the power of the holy name. There was one murderer. His name was Valmiki. And he used to kill brahmanas and sages. And he used to take their Brahman's thread, and he had a big collection, like a coin collector. So he had a big collection of Brahman's threads. And all he knew was kill, kill, kill. So one day he saw Narada Muni. Yeah, Narada Muni is a Brahmin and a sage. Yes, I will kill him. So he was going towards Narada, and Narada said, stop. And he stopped, and he wondered, why am I stopping? Just because he said stop. Then he realized that this person is not an ordinary person. So he surrendered to him, and Narada also showed him all the hells that he was going to be going through. Sprinkled some water on him. All of a sudden he saw all the hells he was going to. And so he surrendered, and he said, well, what can I do? So you have to chant the holy name of the Lord. Now his Swarup, because even the maggot, we discovered it in the garden yesterday. That's what happens if you don't keep working on something, you just leave it, especially in a human atmosphere. You get like these millions of maggots. One time the maggot, like Vasanti had these, this medicine, or herbs, and then they all turned into maggots because we left it alone for a long time. So, what was I saying?
Maggots in the backyard.
Yeah, why did I say that? Huh? Swarup. Even the maggots have a Swarup. As a coward boy, as a gopi, or anything like that. So Narada Muni knew that his Swarup was by nature that he was a servant of Lord Ram. He was a Ram Bhakta. And a powerful, pure Ram Bhakta, but he was far from it. So he told him to chant Ram, Ram, Ram. And he said, I can't get it out of my mouth, because he was so sinful that the name couldn't come out of his mouth. So Narada Muni is very smart. So he said, all right, then can you chant death? Yeah, that I can do, sure. So the Sanskrit word for death is Mara. So okay, I can chant Mara. So Mara, 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 Mara. And after thousands of years of chanting Ram with no intention. Like the materialists say, if you have an intention of something, then that thing manifests. Of course, Krishna says in the Gita, whatever one thinks about at the time of death, he will certainly attain that state. But you can't control your death and you can't control your next life. So he became such a powerful Ram Bhakta that he was able to write the Ramayana, the famous Ramayana of Valmiki, even before Lord Ram appeared. And he had all the pastimes up to a certain point. And then when Ram was about to shoot the earth for not returning Sita, Valmiki said, no, don't. This is all I've written to, all I've written up to. Now Sita has gone to your abode and she's waiting for you there. So then soon means so many years, Ram also went. So really, we do have a choice of, I hate this, I love this is good for me, this is bad for me. And that affects my actual life. But if we take that to the real choice, I have a choice to serve Krishna or I have a choice to serve Maya. If I decide to serve Maya, the material energy, then I get controlled by her. And what does that mean to be controlled by her? She has two powers or two aspects. One is the covering aspect and one is the throwing aspects. She throws us into the 8,400,000 species of life, and then she covers us to become mad after that identification. Like Indra, he's the king of heaven, and he was doing some hanky-panky in his palace, and his spiritual master came and said, so you're acting like a pig, just trying to enjoy sense gratification? So become a pig. So he immediately became a pig, and then, as Krishna says in the Gita, whatever you think about at the time of death, you attain that state without fail. And then you get a certain set of senses centered about the mind. So that's what happened to him. He had his pig senses, his pig mind, pig consciousness, and he had so many piggy wives and so many piglets. And he was just enjoying in the stool and eating stool and swimming in the stool. Then Lord Brahma came because his place was missing in heaven. And he told him, actually you're not a pig, you're Indra, you're the king of heaven, so now it's time to come back to me, to your heavenly abode, where you enjoy heavenly delights. Heavenly delights? I'm already enjoying heavenly delights. Don't bother me, I'm enjoying my heaven. So Lord Brahma had to do something, so he immediately killed all of his wives and piglets, and then he realized that this is temporary, this is miserable. Look at all the misery I'm experiencing now. And then Brahma gave him his Indra body, the fool I am, and he brought him back to heaven. Then there was this one hunter. The hunter's name was Mugrari, and he was half killing animals. And Narada Muni passed by. We're again going into the power of the holy name. Narada Muni passed by, and he saw all these half-killed animals flapping in the forest. So he immediately twanged his veena, and they all came back to good life and ran away. And then Mugrari saw him, said, how dare you mess that up for me? Narada said, why don't you just fully kill them if you have to kill them? but don't half kill them and leave them suffering until they die. He said, well, that's what I learned from my father. And we do skins. So that's all I know. I said, okay. Then he took his kamandalo, his water pot, threw the water, and then Magari saw all the animals that he killed, and they're all waiting on line to kill him. And he's seeing them torturing him birth after birth in different ways. So he said, well, what can I do? How do I save myself? So Narada said, first of all, do you have enough faith in me to follow my instructions? Yes. So break your bow. Well, if I break my bow, then how will I live? You'll live by the chanting, by my mercy, by the chanting of the holy name, Hare Krishna. So he had the faith. He started doing that. His wife started doing that. And the residents of the village were so impressed by him that they started bringing him so much food that he couldn't eat anywhere near that. Of course, they chanted, they offered their boga, they took only prasadam, and then there was enough prasadam now to distribute back to the village. So his life went on like that, and then Narada, who was the eternal spaceman, just by his chanting of the holy name, having accepted Diksha from a bona fide guru named who?
Narad Muni.
No, who's Narada Muni? Brahma. Yes, the first created being. Brahma is able to create, he's sitting on a lotus flower that comes out of a navel lake of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He's sitting on a lotus flower, and the stem is filled with the three worlds, many worlds, but broken into three: heaven, earth, and hell. And he created, manifested all the varieties of the planets, and the oceans, and the demigods came out of his arms. How is he able to do that? By his chanting of the holy name. So similarly, this hunter, by the chanting of his holy name, he totally changed. We believe in the process. The process gets the credit for the change in people. So then one day, Narada, who's an eternal spaceman, who's able to fly all over the material universe, even the quantum physicists say that that the world or the universe is made of endless possibilities. And if you believe have faith in endless possibilities, then there's nothing impossible that you can do to help yourself. And if you don't believe that, if you believe in limited possibilities, then that's what you'll find. So, Narada Muni, because of his chanting and his full faith in the unlimited source of all possibilities, isn't that a verse, Vasanti? Do you remember it? He's the source of all possibilities and all opportunities. And so after many, many births, as one collects sukritis or good pious merits and good impressions on the heart, then he gets the associate, his material life is coming to an end, and he gets connection with those who are connected to the Lord of all opportunities. So similarly, Narada Muni, because of his chanting of the holy name, he's able to fly one planet to another, one universe to another, and also the planets in the spiritual world. Like he goes to Ayodhya, he goes to be in the association of Ram, and he has so many forms. And then, because of her connection with the holy name, who's her? Mother Yasoda. She's churning her butter and is absorbed in the pastimes of her son and singing as she's doing with the grinding word, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. So as she's singing, she's so powerful from her chanting of the holy names that her breast milk is, the quantity of milk in her breast is unlimited. And one tiny drop of her unlimited breast milk becomes what? The Kiradakshaya Vishnu's ocean of milk. Krishna's thirst is unlimited, and her ability to feed him is unlimited, all by the chanting of the Lord's holy name. So what happened with the hunter, when Narada came back from the skyways with his friend Parvat Muni, Mrigari ran as soon as he saw his guru, and he wanted to run to him and offer his obeisances, but he saw that there were ants along the way. And so with his cloth, he very, very carefully bent down. You know the story? See, there are a lot of new people here too, you know they're devotees. He bent down and very gently picked up the ants, put them to the side for protection, and then he ran to his Gurudev and offered obeisances. So then Parvat Muni said, "This is that infinite hunter. How did you do this?" He said, "Everything is possible by the Lord's mercy and by the holy name. That even a wicked hunter can become so compassionate." So, regarding the atheistic conception, which, according to a friend of mine in India, that since everything is the law of manifestation, and if one thinks about anything consciously, it will become true. So similarly, if you think about Krishna, your concept of Krishna, always, then Krishna will, by your imagination, manifest to you. So that's what they say. And as Prabhupada said to one atheist, who said, "I don't believe that Krishna eats, that God eats." So Prabhupada said, "God said, I eat. Who should I believe, God or a rascal like you?" This was in Prabhupada's 26 Second Avenue Temple. This guy with what are those plaid shirts called? Flannel, yeah. He said that, and Prabhupada said, "Who should I believe?" Why did I say that? Why did I say?
Transformational power of the holy name.
Transformational power. So who can realize Krishna? If we accept there's two kinds of people. There's pure devotees, and there are conditioned souls. The conditioned souls have 4 defects. 4 defects are being subject to illusion. Here we go. Now he does it spontaneously. Here is Narada with the hunter Mrigari. There's Mrigari, terrible looking person. There's Narada, and then here, the after effect. How much he changed.
4 defects.
Yes, 4 defects. Thank you, I was giving you prompts. 4 defects. Subject to illusion. What is an example of being subject to an illusion? To illusion? We think we're the body. Although the body's been changing, and I'm remaining the same. Do you know that painting? You know that painting there? Haridas?
Which one?
There's the man is running. And there are, most of you are young, so you don't know about this, but if you go into a movie house in my day, and Ravi Sham's day, there's these big, big projectors, and they roll on rolls. And there's many, many frames, but when seen consecutively, it looks like one motion picture. So the man, actually this is not in the Bhagavad Gita, but Prabhupada wrote me in a letter to put this analogy in. He explained the picture. There's a man running, and in each frame, it's a little bit different. And then when seen consecutively, here we go. When seen consecutively, when the frames go quick, it just looks like a man running. So it seems like we have one body, but actually at every moment, the body is changing, as everything in the world and universe is changing. And then, according to our thinking, this is the part that they get correct. According to our thinking, we create another body. Like, if somebody likes to enjoy sex life, for example, then he'll, which is just nothing more than eating your own blood, because every drop of semina, Prabhupada explained, he's a scientist too, every drop of semina takes 60 drops of blood. So he may, in the law of probability, he may become, in his next life, a camel. Because what does a camel do? A camel has a very long neck, so it can go up to the highest parts of the tree. And he loves to eat thorny twigs. Why? Because where?
Change your bodies.
Change your body. According to what we think, we get another body. She loves to be naked in public. How public? On a nudie magazine. And so in her next life, she can be in the same position as a tree, because her consciousness is becoming like a tree. And she loves to sleep all the time. And that's the consciousness of a bear who sleeps for 6 months a year. So he becomes a bear. Then he loves to eat meat. So he has the consciousness of a tiger. Can you all see? So he becomes a tiger in his next life. And he has the consciousness of a pig because he loves to eat anything and everything up to stool. That is eggs, cake with eggs, lobsters that fresh out of the boiling water, live going in, dead coming out. Wanted to say something?
What about someone who is constantly a liar? Who would they come back as?
Well, the thing is, so Sukanta is asking, if somebody is constantly a liar, then who will he or what will he come back as? So the thing is, it's not one thing. This is just a simplistic painting, but it's actually a combination of millions of things that he does, millions of things that he thinks. And so he could come back as a politician for a moment, but no, that's a joke, because then he'll go and be some kind of animal. So if he does this, he has to get that body, then he gets that body, then he gets that body. Somebody was just telling me about Castro, for liberation and independence of Cuba. Then as soon as he got in his position, he became worse. He made the dictator that he was fighting against look like a good person. So what will he get? Like Prabhupada said about Rockefeller, Rockefeller makes this big Rockefeller Center, but then he doesn't know that soon he will go to the graveyard. And he could become a maggot, depending on the millions of things that he does. Could become a lizard. So, I forgot what I was saying before you asked that. But the four, thank you. The four defects of the conditioned soul. Then I'm coming to the end. Whoa, we started late. 4 defects. So illusion. I think on this body, even though the body constantly changes, and I stay the same. I was 2 years old. I was 10 years old. But I still have the same mind, because I can remember when I was 2 years old. In fact, I'm doing that right now in a house that I had with my parents. I'm doing that right now. I'm going there. Why? Because I have the same mind. The mind is transformable, and the body is transferable. Got that from Srila Prabhupada. So we're subject to illusion, subject to imperfect senses, and Srila Prabhupada personally, imperfect senses means I think that I saw something. I think that I heard something. I think that what else? Tasted something. And it turned out to be something else. So then, mistakes. Prabhupada gives the classic example of Gandhi, because he was warned that day, don't go out, there's going to be danger. I'm not worried. So as soon as he went out, he was immediately shot. I started with Einstein. I'd like to go back to Einstein for a minute, because we are in major illusion. So Einstein told his friends, that's what I started to tell them, that our godbrother, Rohini Nandan, he gives classes in different colleges with like 600 students. By the end, they're all chanting ecstatically, dancing around in circles. And so he showed this slide of Einstein telling his friends that there is a creator. No one could have made this. No one could have, nothing could have made this. Nothing couldn't have made this. The Big Bang couldn't have made this. There is a smart creator. So his friends said, you're crazy. So then he decided to do something for his friends. And he made this little model of a park and like a city, trees and stuff. And then he invited his friends, and with some electronic things, he invited his friends, and they thought, oh, how wonderful, like, a high-class diorama and water. And they said, who made this? And he said, nobody made it. It just came by itself. And they said, you're crazy. Who made it? So, subject to illusions, subject to mistakes, subject to imperfect senses, and subject to cheating and lying, as you mentioned. Like, Srila Prabhupada said that teachers, they don't know anything, they don't know who they are, they don't know about life after death, they don't know how holy everything is. Everything is holy, everything is divine. That's a positive way to see it. Even this, Krishna says, this material energy, this divine energy of mine, which causes birth and death and creation and destruction and creation, is my energy, and it's working under my direction, producing all moving and non-moving beings. And by its rule, everything is created and annihilated again and again. So there are 4 defects of the conditioned soul. Then there are those who are beyond the 4 defects, like Valmiki in his perfected state. Like, of course, the most famous Vyasadeva. They are called Trikalogya, which means they can see everything, past, present, and future. How? Because God is everything. Krishna is everything, past, present, and future. Of course, we know, this is the month of Kartik, he's only able to be everything, past, present, and future because of Radharani. But this is for preaching. The people on the live stream, it's for their preaching, it's for your preaching, because you already know this. But it's for convincing others. They know past, present, and future. How? By the power of their holy name, by the power of their devotion. So, we can accept, we have the choice. We have a choice to accept the scientists that there are 9 planets, and that's it, nothing outside of that. And this is the only inhabitable planet. And this is the most important country that we're in, and I'm in the most important group, so yay me. Because that's why I came, isn't it? Icha Dvesha Samutena, that everyone is born into this world overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. So everyone is an imitation God until we become devotees. So we believe, we believe authorities. We believe that there was a hurricane here, there was a hurricane there. We believe that, we haven't seen it, because we accept those people as authority. We accept the scientists as authority that they went to the moon. But you ask Prabhupada, who's not a conditioned soul, and he'll say they actually went to Arizona, the desert in Arizona. And in their advertisements, they say, and it looks just like Arizona, the moon. Where it's actually, we know that it's a heavenly planet. So we have our choice who to believe. And how does that come? It comes by Socrates, by spiritual pious merits over many millions of births, which produces some scars. Not some, you could say it's like some scars, because they're very strong impressions on the heart. Like if you take a rock and you take a rope and you go back and forth with the rope on the rock, nothing happens, but eventually something happens. You have a drip from a leaky faucet on the cement, drip, after some time, drip, nothing happens, but eventually the cement, which is so strong, gets a hole in it. Did the hole in the cement come from the first drop or the last drop? Looks like it came from the last drop, but it came from the first drop. So over time, we do spiritual pious merits. Here's an example. You know the example of rags? We call that lecture rags. Anybody know that, rags? And if you want to know, if you want to distribute a good book and you want to read a good book for preaching and everything else and for our own heart, Journey of the Soul, beginning with Who Can You Trust? Where was I?
The rags.
The rags. So this devotee in Vrindavan, chanting Radhe, 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 Jai Jai, Sri Radhe. And he went to somebody's house. This lady, she was cleaning her house, little Vrindavan house, with a very old, soiled, oily rag, torn and worn. And she's cleaning with cow dung. So it's the combination of all that is on the rag. And so he came to beg alms for her benefit. Like, can you give me a chapati? And she said, get out of here, you Vaishnava beggars. Don't ever come back again. So naturally he came back the next day, chanting Radhe Radhe. And she said, if you come back once more, I'm going to break your back with my stick. So came back the next day. She threw her old, dirty, oily, cow dung, worn and torn rag at him. And he took it very happily. And he went home and he washed it very, very carefully in the Jamuna River, very holy river. And then when it was so clean, he ripped it into different pieces and he made ghee lamps because somebody else had given him ghee. And then he made ghee lamps and did arti. And then he went back to her the next day and she said, welcome, have some chapatis, I'm so happy to see you. She didn't realize what was happening to her. So we also want to get secreties. What are you doing today? Collecting secreties. And collecting souls from my Guru Varga, giving them secreties too. So that is the story of Krishna consciousness versus or reconciled with quantum physics. Are there any questions? Once it was the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Keshav Goswami Maharaj and Param Gurudev, and he asked, as usual, different devotees to speak. So then I spoke, and I told about some ways that he defeated atheistic arguments. And he said, yes, you have to know this either in this birth or many millions of births from now. You have your choice. You can't jump over this and become a devotee. Yes. Sorry.
So, I'm trying to word this. It's mentioned somewhere that you need past impressions to reach like the higher levels of bhakti, like Bob, and from previous birth, not necessarily in this birth. Like, you can collect many sukritis in this birth, but it's very rare to attain, like unless you have previous births. Can you speak more about that?
Well, you already spoke about it. There's that verse, maybe Haridas knows it. Bhaktistu Bhagavat, you know it. Let's say it together. Bhaktistu Bhagavata Bhakti Sangena Parijayate Satsangalapite Pandir Sukritai Purva Sanskritai. That is, after many millions of births of performing spiritual pious merits, because material pious merits, like opening a hospital, isn't going to do it. Millions of lives of those are not going to do it. But spiritual pious merits, accidentally observing Ekadasi, for example. If you're a bird and you get shot and you're like wandering like that with the arrow in your chest and you happen to circumambulate a temple, then you get a good birth in your next life. So after many millions of births and getting impressions in the heart, Sukriti Purva Samskritai, then you get the association of a pure devotee, and by his association you become a pure devotee. Yes.
Does greed for learning Tattva Siddhanta eventually turn into greed for Raganuga Bhakti?
Does greed for learning Tattva Siddhanta eventually turn into greed for Raganuga Bhakti? If I'm under proper guidance, and I'm learning also how to transfer that. Like Prabhupada taught us, God lives and you can live with him. And we learned all about Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and Kirodakshaya Vishnu, and it's really the sun that's moving. It's not that the earth is moving around the sun. All this tattva. And then seeing that according to some of his students, they had the pious merits from many past lives, and now they are ready to learn how to get the greed for Raganuga Bhakti. Then Krishna will pluck that soul and put them in the association of a Raganuga Bhakta who is giving that at the moment. Like Prabhupada could have given it, and he did give it, but to who, I don't know. But I wasn't ready for it when Prabhupada was performing his manifest pastimes. But then lots of suffering and wondering and weeping got me, even though I wasn't qualified, ready to meet Srila Gurudev, and said that Prabhupada sent you to me because he wants you to learn this now. So Prabhupada taught in the beginning from his Gurudev, who said, God lives and you can live with him. And then Gurudev said, and now Prabhupada is telling me to tell you to forget that Krishna is God and consider him in a worldly relationship. He is my son, he is my friend, he's my beloved, like that. So it's not automatic, it's automatic under proper guidance and following that guidance, following the instructions. Like in that thing I read yesterday, or the day before, about verse 47 of Vilap Kusmanjali, all the weeping and rolling of Narottam Das Thakur. When will I become the maidservant of Radharani? When will Rupa Manjari ask me to get Radharani's garments and bring it for her and comb her hair? And then when will, then I'll give the garland to Rupa Manjari, who'll give it to Lalita, Vishaka will give it to Lalita, who'll give it to Radharani, and then Radharani will say, who made this garland? It's so beautiful. And then Rupa Goswami will say, oh, it's this new one here. And then Lalita Vishaka would say, yes, Rupa Manjari trained her. So we're hearing about all this, we're trying to repeat it, but because of our lack of enough births of pious credits, we're still saying the verses, saying the prayers, wanting to cry, but thinking, I need a new jacket, this one's too old, his shoes are nicer than my shoes, and I didn't get enough to eat in that way. So does that answer your question?
Yes. One thing that I find
In fact, one of the criticisms that we used to get when we first started seeing Gurudev was, no, you go back to Godhead automatically just by distributing books. Yes, what?
Yeah, one thing that I internally struggle with is I've been so programmed with the scientific mindset of like the moon is close to the earth and
Whereas it's millions of times further than the sun.
yeah, what do
It's
I
bigger than the sun.
and like that I wish I like I don't know I just end up like with this pinching inside of like oh no I don't believe that. Like how do I get over that?
That amount of faith is called Kanistha Adhikari. The bottom rung
Ooh, I made it.
of devotees. At least you're on a rung. So, yeah. So we associate with more advanced devotees. We keep chanting, we keep trying, we keep praying, we keep reading. We know what the goal is. Like, I didn't know what the goal was until I met Gurudev. It's not a fault of Srila Prabhupada, but I wasn't ready. I had to learn all the subjects before I could major. And then I could understand the relationship between one subject and another.
Is it?
Apparently, Prabhupada said also that it was Rahu that they went to, the planet of ghosts or something.
I didn't hear that, but
You didn't hear that?
he could have very well said it.
Okay.
It's just
We do go to the planet of ghosts.
it's not something I can just jump over. I can just say like, oh well, you know what, to me it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter my day to day of like, whether or not the moon is closer or not closer. Really, it like makes no difference.
It makes the difference in the sense that who do I believe? The
That's
conditioned
where
soul,
like I'm struggling.
That's the struggle.
Yeah.
So the more I hear about them, the more I hear about Vyasadeva, what he did, who he is, the more I hear about Narada Muni, the more I hear about, last night we heard about Abhiram Thakur. Nityananda, in the pastime, didn't want him to come to see his newborn baby. So he told all the boatmen to sink their boats. So he had no way to get across the river to Nityananda's house. So he took a piece of cloth and sat on it and sailed across the river. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. And then who's my association? Do you associate with a drunkard or a person who just gossips all the time? Or a person who talks about Krishna all the time? Got it? Okay, yes?
I was speaking to someone recently, and this is on the topic of trying to learn how to preach or defeat maybe atheistic people. And they were saying that they, through their research, they understood that Madhvacharya established a dualistic, that our religion is dualistic. Is that true?
Yes, there's a difference between you and God. There's a difference between you and Vasanti. There's a difference between you and the body, or the material energy. There's a difference between one material energy and another. And there's a difference between God and the material energy. That's the fivefold Dvaita, Shuddha Dvaita philosophy. And our philosophy from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took two teachings from each of the four Sampradaya Acharyas and established, or not discovered, because he's God, he discovers everything. He does everything, he makes everything. And then his is a Chintya Veda Veda Tattva. Everything is simultaneously one and different.
Right.
We're simultaneously one with God in quality and different than God in quantity.
Okay, so that's how I responded to that person.
Good.
But I thought that dualistic meant oh, we worship two gods. And then I was saying no. So I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, there's another duality.
Yeah.
By Dutiya Bhinivedasitasya. It's the concept of duality. In fact, Srila Sridhar Maharaj just talked about that verse extensively
Oh,
on his
Yeah.
appearance. Do you remember?
in the absolute harmony.
Absolute harmony.
Right.
That it's the conception that there's something else besides Krishna, besides God, is the cause of my fear
Right.
and illusion. So the whole thing is, I've turned from him, and if I turn back to him, the simple process, even though I've done millions and millions of sins and offenses, just by the process of turning back to him, it all goes away. Isn't that amazing? Did you have something? No, nothing else?
Well, I just wanted to add to Haridas's.
Go ahead.
Our Gurudev says,
Loud.
our Gurudev says Rasa Siddhanta is included within Tattva Siddhanta. Or sorry, Tattva
Opposite.
Siddhanta is included within Rasa Siddhanta.
Yes.
So it makes one's heart dry when they're only taking Tattva Siddhanta. So there should be a balance.
Repeat what you said. So his Gurudev, Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Ban Maharaj, said that, repeated his Gurudev, Srila Gurudev, that the pastimes are included in the philosophy. If you say the pastimes, the philosophy is there. And if you just do philosophy and not pastimes, he's quoting, then your heart becomes dry. It'll be not dry because it's so amazing from what we learned in the material world from our material authorities. But then it becomes enough. And then it will be dry if I stay there. So, but of course, Prabhupada gave us pastimes right from day one. So many just flood my mind at the moment. But like an example, when Radharani came to cook in Nanda Bhavan, cook breakfast for Krishna. So Mother Yasoda, she just gets overwhelmed whenever she sees Radharani. And she says, oh, this house is yours. How can I love you just as much as I love Krishna. How can I make any distinction between you two? That's her love, that's the pastime, but it has the philosophy in it. All right, well, it's time.
Yeah.
Did the offering get done?
Yes.
Okay, is everyone satisfied? Because there's a lot of new devotees here.
Another quick
The
question.
Tripuraris new, then they have to go. So we'll have to stop, yes.
About that pastime, she take the color of Radharani. Is there a place where Krishna, Radharani gets the color of Krishna? She come black.
Come back.
Because we black, become black.
Yeah, like Marjorie said, in Jagannath Puri, there's a Gopinath deity, Tota Gopinath, and that Radharani is black from thinking of Krishna so much. Right? Okay. Okay, Gaur Premanandi. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Gaudiya Guru Varga ki jai, Vraja Mandala Parikrama ki jai, Ojeshwari Radhika ki jai, Neem Seva ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. And thank you all very much for working so beautifully together today. It was an amazing thing to watch. I never do anything but watch. So to make Radharani's whole garden wonderful and the cart wonderful. And then we'll be going to the wonderful parade this afternoon. Okay, so Kirtan, Anjali,
5 minutes
or
can we do Yashamati Nandana?
we can.
Let's do that.
Is the offering done already?
Yes.
Good.